Well, the time is coming up to 12 minutes past 6. You're watching ITV News Central. Still to come on the programme. Winning ways for ex-Warwickshire's Wasim Khan so far, but will the magic rub off elsewhere?
Now, he's one of the most celebrated classical pianists in the country. Graduated from the Royal College of Music and took to the stage with Coldplay at the Paralympic closing ceremony. But it hasn't been an easy road for Nicholas McCarthy, who was born without a right hand. The piano star recently played at the Cheltenham Music Festival, and next month he'll be returning to the town for a special concert to commemorate the First World War. Louise Ringe reports.
As concert pianists go, Nicholas McCarthy came late to the profession. He was a teenager listening to a friend play Beethoven when he found himself mesmerised by the music.
I just absolutely fell in love with what she was doing, and it was literally that moment where I decided, probably quite naively at 14, that I wanted to be a concert pianist. And I remember going home and telling my mum and dad, and obviously when your one-armed son comes home and says, "Mum, I want to be a concert pianist," and there's that kind of look, being like, really? But they were very supportive in the end, and obviously now look, you know, I think their time and patience paid off. I have had so many knockbacks in my career, it's quite astounding really. I think the first for me was when I actually wanted to audition for the music school where my friend who inspired me to play the piano, where she attended. So one day after school I came home and picked up the phone, and this very stern, you know, older lady answered the phone and basically shot me down in flames on the phone and just said, you know, "You've got one hand, I don't know how you can play the piano, I haven't got time to see you," and then she hung up the phone.
With each knockback making him more determined, Nicholas eventually became the first one-handed pianist ever to graduate from the Royal College of Music. He now tours the world doing what he loves, but what he loves isn't without its challenges.
It feels like I've been to the gym for kind of an hour and a half after a concert, because it is physically exhausting, because obviously left-hand repertoire, people, when I first was introduced to it, thought it sounds a bit boring really. It sounds, you know, one hand just playing down this side of the piano, where it's not. It's literally everywhere from the bottom right to the top of the piano, and you're always trying to create this illusion of two hands playing, and you can only do that by being very quick and very fast, and also spreading, you know, a big range of the piano.
Nicholas is about to take to the road on a national tour, marking 100 years since World War I and paying tribute to the figures from history who've inspired him.
Paul Wittgenstein is a name that crops up a lot, and he lost his right arm during the First World War, and instead of just giving up, he decided to use his wealth to commission the celebrity composers of the day to write pieces for him for left hand alone, which absolutely grew the left hand repertoire hugely and enabled, you know, the likes of me to have a career all these years later.
And what a career it's been so far. From the budding pianist told he was wasting his time, Nicholas has proved his critics wrong and is now mesmerising audiences all over the world. Louise Ringe, ITV News.
And mesmerising is the word, isn't it? We've all been sat in awe, just listening to how beautifully he plays the piano.
Incredible.
Lovely. Now, still ahead on the programme, Halloween snaps, your pictures on the scariest night, that's scary, of the year.
That is really frightening. and from a dog with a witch's hat on to Steve Clamp with the sports.
Yes, indeed, thank you very much.
Follow that.
I'll try. I've got a fascinating interview with former Warwickshire star Wasim Khan coming up as he prepares to make history. Plus, what is wrong with Villa and a bit of superbikes.
ITV Central Sports Report, sponsored by WeWantAnyCar.com, the Cash for Cars website.
Well, after an astonishing start to the season and 3 wins and a draw out of 4, Aston Villa have nosedives down the Premier League. If results go against them this weekend, they could drop into the relegation places. And having gone almost 9 hours without scoring a goal, fans are worried.
When you go through hard times, you have to pull together and stick with it. And that's what I find. And if you do that, you'll definitely come through it.
Paul Lambert speaking this morning, and these really are hard times for Aston Villa. The last 5 results paint a dismal picture. 5 games, 5 defeats, the whole of October without a single point. The last defeat against the team who had been bottom, QPR, and not a single goal scored in any of these matches. But according to Lambert, the fault can't lay just with the strikers.
But you can't lay responsibility attacking players all the time. It's a team. If you don't win a game, it's everybody.
I don't think the fans have ever been wholly behind Paul Lambert.
Peter Warrilow is the chairman of the Aston Villa Supporters Trust.
I don't think it's quite crisis point, but with Spurs coming up on Sunday, followed by West Ham 2 home games, it's absolutely essential that we win at least one of them and hopefully get a draw out of the other. I mean, if we don't achieve that, I think it will be crisis point.
In fact, the next 5 fixtures could make or break Villa's season. After Tottenham on Sunday, there's West Ham, Southampton, Burnley and Crystal Palace. All teams Villa fans will expect their side to take points from. But then they thought that before losing to QPR. Well, history was made this week when Leicestershire became the first English cricket club to appoint a non-white chief executive. Wasim Khan won numerous trophies as a player at Warwickshire and has spent the last 10 years working to get children at state schools playing cricket again. But could this new venture be his toughest? Leicestershire haven't won a county game in 2 years. I spoke to him earlier and began by asking him if he hoped to encourage more young Asian men and women to get into cricket.
Leicester's got a huge demographic similar to Birmingham, the South Asian community, and I think it's been an issue right across cricket in this country is that, you know, the game's not been very, very good at embracing and engaging with the South Asian community. So one of the things, a big part of this job will be to actually do that.
Whether they're Asians or whether they're not, they aren't going to want to come and watch if the team keep losing and they haven't won a county match in 2 years. It's a pretty dire position.
Yeah, and it's also quite a good position for me to start from because hopefully we get some wins under our belt next year. I've made it quite clear this week that there's going to be no celebrations after they win their first game because we're going to have bigger targets and plans to reach. Once a new coach is announced next week, hopefully I get an opportunity to sit in front of him and start to put targets and plans, and I want him to be quite ambitious because clearly what's gone on at Leicestershire isn't acceptable. I was very fortunate to become the first British-born Pakistani to play pro cricket. I remember growing up and everyone saying, don't even bother because it's not for people like us. But I was quite resilient, I was very determined. I'm hoping that everything I've learned through the Warwickshire days, and we had a great environment in the 90s and a great kind of breeding ground in terms of a winning mentality, I can bring a lot of those things in.
You've made a difference with Chance to Shine. I think everyone would agree it went pretty well. Is it going to have a long-term impact? Are you seeing more young people at state schools taking up cricket?
Yeah, when we started Chance to Shine back in 2005, well under 10% of the 21,000 state schools in this country played any form of cricket. You know, 9 years on now, we've got 2.5 million children across 11,000 state schools that have never played the game before, and 1 million of girls.
All that success you had with that, encouraging young people to play cricket, all helped you get an MBE. What was that moment like?
Yeah, it was an amazing. The letter sort of arrived, and you kind of arrives, and you think it's an inland revenue letter when it first comes through the door. So I didn't open it for a day, and then left it, and finally opened it. And yeah, you kind of have to sort of look at it twice and think, is this for real, sort of thing. But you know, huge honour. I was also very fortunate last year. I was selected as one of 3 people to have a private lunch with the Queen and the Duke at Buckingham Palace.
Is it easy to have a conversation with the Queen?
She was brilliant. She obviously she's had amazing years of training, and she just made you feel so relaxed. She asked me about how often I travelled from Birmingham to London, what the train fares were like. She asked me about sort of cricket, and she said that the Duke had been staying up overnight to watching the Ashes. And so she was just having a friendly sort of conversation.
Wasim Khan has gone from the first British-born Pakistani to play professional cricket to the man who brought the game back to Britain's schools before picking up an MBE and having lunch with the Queen. Now he's determined to bring that winning formula to Leicestershire.